Hey everyone, we're live. This is Doug. Just finished watching the Blackmagic announcement video a few minutes ago. Just kind of do a little bit of a summary of what they announced, what they showed, and share my thoughts with you. So hey everyone, my name is Doug Johnson. I run a video production company in Orem, Utah called DJP, and I'm here in production trailer that we use for our live events that we shoot. Now today was the Blackmagic Design announcement. Presumably this is the products that and updates that they would have normally been giving at NAB, but because that's been canceled, companies are just doing virtual announcements online. Now this happened to be kind of a slower announcement than some of the others. Typically in the past they've introduced a number of products. Today they only announced one new product and then some updates on a couple of others. So probably a little less going on in terms of new stuff than we were probably anticipating. So this video is being done live, so if you happen to have questions, you can leave those down in the chat, and I will see those. You can see they're showing up there in the on the screen. So just start by talking about some of the stuff that they covered in the announcement. So first thing they started talking about was the ATEM Mini. The product's been out, I guess, about 6 months now, and they had a couple of updates for it today. So most of the updates today were with regard to using the ATEM Mini with their Pocket Cinema cameras for live production. So with most of other Blackmagic Design switchers and cameras in the past, they've had a way of communicating through SDI. Of course, the ATEM Mini doesn't have SDI, and so the only connection it has is HDMI. Well, the Pocket Cinema cameras also do have HDMI, and what they've done is they're taking advantage of a data channel that's there available on HDMI to do camera control of those Pocket Cinema cameras from the ATEM Mini switchers. They're doing that with a new studio mode that's being introduced in the Pocket Cinema cameras, and they're doing some cool things. So that communication channel allows them to do things like tally lights to indicate when a camera is on preview or if it happens to be live with a green or red LED. It also allows control of the DaVinci primary color corrector that exists in those cameras. So you can actually do some live coloring of the cameras from your ATEM switcher software. The switcher itself doesn't have buttons for that, but the switcher is capable by using the ATEM control software that Blackmagic has. It also allows things like lens control, so you can adjust the iris, the gain, the shutter speed of the cameras remotely. And also there's a way of setting time code for those cameras. So if you're going to be doing some editing in post and you need to be able to sync multiple cameras up, you can actually set the time code in those cameras from the ATEM software. So also you can do starting and stopping of the camera from the switcher. So you hit one button and start recording on all the cameras. So the software updates to do those things are actually available today. I've already checked out; they are live on the Blackmagic website as of right now. So if this is something that maybe interests you, you can go and get those things now. So let's see, take a look at some of the other stuff here. The new product that they announced this time around is the ATEM Mini Pro. So this is kind of an upscale version of the ATEM Mini switcher that they announced 6 months ago. It takes care of some of the customer complaints and also adds some interesting new features as well. So the primary new feature on this switcher is a built-in encoder for live streaming. So you can stream to YouTube, not Facebook, but a lot of the other online services directly from the switcher. It has an Ethernet connection on the back. You can plug that in to your network, or the demonstration that they did there in the video was to connect the switcher to a computer and use the internet sharing feature in this case Mac OS in order to get that stream out to the internet. So the H.264 video encoder is actually built right into the ATEM Mini Pro, and you don't necessarily have to have a separate video encoder with that. They've also added a built-in multi-viewer, which has been the #1 feature request of the ATEM Mini. So anybody who's been really wanting that, you'll be able to get that in the new ATEM Mini Pro that's coming out. So they add a number of buttons on the front panel to let you choose what is output via the HDMI port on the back. So you can choose one of the different camera sources, you can choose the program, or you can choose the new multi-viewer. Now, because the switcher only has 4 video inputs, the bottom 4 windows in the multi-view actually show you other things. So by default, it shows you the media player 1, the status of the internet stream, status of recording, I'll get to that in a second, and then the status of the audio mixer. So you'll see the 4 camera sources, those 4 monitor windows, and then of course your preview and program. Now the ATEM Mini Pro still only has 1 HDMI output, just like the original ATEM Mini. It's actually in the same form factor as the ATEM Mini, so it's the same size, same connections on the back. But as mentioned a minute ago, one of the new things that they're doing with that was because they're using the USB connection on the back to actually allow it to record. So it will record H.264 video onto an attached hard drive or USB flash drive, and it will connect to, you can connect to multiple disks. So then within the software, there's 2 different choices, 2 different places where you can choose any of the connected disks for recording. You can record to 1 disk at a time, but you can freely switch between disks without dropping any frames. So if you're in a situation where you've got a drive that fills up and it can spill over to another, or if you're doing a live situation where you need to be able to edit things quickly, you record and you press the record button for a couple of seconds, and that'll switch to the other disk. Then you take out the first one, go do some editing on that one while recording to a new disk. And you can switch back and forth as much as you want, just like the HyperDeck recorders that Blackmagic has been selling for a long time. There's also, on the new ATEM Mini Pro, there are a couple of buttons to allow you to turn the recording and the streaming on and off. So there's dedicated buttons for that with LED indicators to indicate the status. So you'll know just by a glance whether the switcher is streaming or recording properly. And let's see, what else? It has a built-in buffer to help make sure that you're getting all the data out to a live stream. Some other, yeah. So about the recording. So that recording is actually just a duplicate of the live stream, so it only has 1 H.264 encoder built into it. You can't record one high bit rate and then stream at a lower bit rate. It doesn't have that option. It's basically just doing encoding, one encoding of 1 H.264 stream, and then you can record it and or stream it, your choice. So yeah, so let's see. What else? It does support their multi-dock USB device, which allows you to insert multiple SSD drives in one single rack unit and then connect that over USB. As mentioned, it does allow real-time switching between multiple recorders. The pricing of that is going to be $595. They're starting production of it today, so it's not available just yet, but they hope to get it out soon. They mentioned that there are some supply chain issues with a lot of flights being canceled around the world. They're having a hard time getting products out. That probably explain why the ATEM Mini, the original ATEM Mini, has not been very widely available recently, in addition to everybody wanting to do live streaming all of a sudden with everybody having to work remotely. So let's see, a couple other things. So ATEM software control has been updated. It offers a new connection menu to help you find switchers on the network, so you don't have to manually type in IP address, so it will actually search the network for those switchers. There's a new output palette that's used for configuring the streaming and recording. Of course, I mentioned also has a timecode generator, so that is used to set the timecode on any attached Pocket Cinema cameras. And then there's an option there to start and stop recording on the Pocket Cinema cameras remotely as well. So one of the cool things they mentioned, and this makes a lot of sense, you can shoot video on the Pocket Cinema cameras in 4K or 6K, depending on what model you have and what your settings are. So record in the full resolution in camera, and then use HDMI to live switch an HD version of those streams. So we don't see much by the way of 4K streaming anywhere. Nobody's really doing that yet. And so a lot of us don't even have the bandwidth necessarily to be able to even watch a live 4K stream, but having the ability to stream in HD while recording in 4K with synchronized time code makes it really easy to go back and produce a 4K version of an event that you happen to shoot. So another thing they announced was a new software update for HyperDeck Studio Mini. And they claimed that it was a really big one, but based on his description, it didn't seem like it was really that huge. One of the things that he mentioned was it now has a longer recording time within a single file. It used to be after about an hour, it would split from one file to another. Now he says it'll go 3 to 4 hours between. So you'll be able to have 3 to 4 hours in a single file before it splits to a second file. No loss of any video information, no frame drops or anything there with that. They have added a brand new H.264 codec to the HyperDeck Studio Mini with the new software update. It's supposed to give a much higher quality video, although I've never had much by the way of complaints with the quality in the past. Now supports H.264 now supports Interlaced, so you can record 1080i footage in M8 on H.264. They've also added an Aac Audio Codec for the H.264 codec, which allows you to upload directly to YouTube and not have it transcribed to another file format. And having all that also allows it to natively play back recordings that are made within the ATEM Mini Pro. So have a little bit more flexibility with H.264 and HyperDeck Studio Minis. In the past, they've always, well, for a couple of years, they've been able to record H.264 but never be able to play files from anywhere else. And this, with the update, they're able to play back recordings, at least from the ATEM Mini Pro. So if you happen to do recording there and you need to use the HyperDeck Studio Play for playback, those files are now compatible. They've also increased the Ftp upload speed to roughly 110 megabits per second, basically full Ethernet speed. In the past, it's been a little bit limited, so it took a really long time to transfer files to the HyperDeck Studio Mini over FTP. That software update is version 7.1, and that is available today. Now, the only other thing that they really covered much in the video, and I thought this was kind of interesting, they gave a demonstration of using the ATEM 1ME a control panel and the 1M, and also the ATEM camera control panel with the ATEM Mini switchers. So that's always been possible. So it's kind of interesting that they would take time to demonstrate this in this video, but they also demonstrated using those control panels with the ATEM Mini, and in this case, the Pocket Cinema cameras. So that portion would be new because there was no way to control those cameras remotely. But so most of these software updates are actually available now. So if some of these things are things that you're interested in, you can go and get those. The only thing that's not available now is the new ATEM Mini Pro. So, all right. So let's see. Have we have any questions in the live stream? Yeah, it's Grant Almanac saying Grant spent a lot of time trying to make feature previously announced in other products sound like a new innovation in Mini Pro. Yeah, that is very much true. So a lot of the stream was dedicated to re-demonstrating things that they've already talked about in the past. So let's see what else. I got a lot of comments about audio. I'll move the mic a little further away. Aaron Robertson saying got all my power switched over. Yes, I redid both the AC and the DC power systems in the trailer. Still have a few little things remaining, but most of it's already taken care of. So yes, a little bit of audio distortion. Sorry about that, guys. I don't have headphones. I can't monitor my own audio when I'm doing this. So not many questions on the stream today. Let's scroll back up and see if there's anything that people are asking. Okay, we've got someone asking you how to connect to, it says Presentation Pro with ATEM. I think you mean the web presenter. So that's just an SDI output from the switcher into the web presenter. Nothing very complicated there. Someone asking if I can recap the first minutes again. I'm not going to do that. Just rewatch the video. So the video is going to stay posted. So Vincent Rosenberg is saying, I wonder if the HDMI camera will work with extensions like HDMI over Ethernet. I would guess probably not. A lot of those types of extenders don't really do a great job of preserving the non-video data, and some of them even do with weird things with the audio. So I'm guessing probably not. So Adrenaline saying Interlaced H.264 has been long awaited. Yes, I know there's a huge workflow, a huge number of people out there that are still using Interlace video. I'm not one of them. I refuse to do Interlace. But yeah, I know there's a lot of people who do want Interlace video support, and adding that to the HyperDeck Studio Mini is something that some people are going to really enjoy. Chris Morrison said, did BMD discontinue the television studio switcher? I can't find anything on it. I don't think so. That's a pretty popular product. I can't imagine that they would. Let me see if there's anything on their website. Products, live switcher, television studio. Yeah, there's Television Studio HD, still on their site. Yep. Okay, let's see. Aaron saying, I suspect they're using ARC channel and HDMI, so an extender would need to support that as well. I don't think it's ARC. I think it's just one of the miscellaneous auxiliary data channels that is in HDMI. He mentioned something about that in the stream. So, yeah, so I think any sort of camera control features are being done over that. Let's see. Can you suggest a good audio mixer for rack setup? So let's see. Depends on how many rack spaces you're willing to give up. If you can do 3 rack spaces, I would get a Behringer XR series mixer, like an XR12, XR16, or XR18, or their Midas equivalents. Those are actually really good mixers, a lot of features in small space. If you need something less than that, your options are a little more limited. And I can't think of anything great off the top of my head. Okay. You see this is a move backwards as most people back to DSLR hacking non-parfocal lens work. I think what's going to happen with this is that the people who are doing what we do will keep doing what we do, and the people who maybe are trying to get into live streaming at a lower end will be able to take advantage of this new setup. So this actually, with this camera control feature, that actually makes a lot of sense to use all of a sudden it makes a lot of sense to use the Blackmagic cameras, pocket cinema cameras, for live work. As long as you don't need autofocus. That's kind of a big deal breaker with those cameras. So people who already have that camera and want to do live streaming, this new stuff from the ATEM Mini and ATEM Mini Pro is actually pretty cool. I'm not a big fan of using that style of camera for production work myself, mostly because of the lens selection. You don't find a lot of lenses that are made for live work. You know, when you're doing live work, you need to be able to maintain critical focus, which means you probably are not working with a shallow depth of field. You also probably want powered zoom so that you can have a nice smooth zoom. You're not going to get either of those things with the lenses that are available on the Pocket Cinema Camera series. So, different market, different use. I do see this as being something that's kind of cool and will give some people the option of doing some live streaming who haven't really had the option of doing it previously or have been very limited by it in the past. Being able to control the color corrector in the cameras is pretty cool. Right now, the only way of doing it on those cameras is by downloading a LUT and being able to use the color corrector that's built in the camera from the switcher is actually pretty nice, and also be able to control iris and gain and shutter speed and all that. That's all pretty cool. Let's see. Getting a lot of questions now. Okay, so Marco, what is the opinion of the price of the ATEM Mini Pro? So at $595, I think it's actually a pretty good deal. I still wish they'd put another HDMI output on it. I think the original ATEM Mini was lacking in that area. It could have really used one for preview, one for program. That would have been nice to see that upgrade on the Mini Pro. But I know there's a lot of people out there who have desperately wanted a multi-view on the ATEM Mini, and this actually provides that at a price that's a little less expensive than the Television Studio HD switcher. So I think it's a cool product. I actually will be getting one. I like the fact that it has a video encoder for web streaming built right in. There's a lot of situations that that I'm in where that would be handy, especially when coupled with the built-in audio compression. Between those two features, that provides a lot of functionality that I need for single or even simple 2-camera live streams that I do. So I could show up to an event with 2 cameras with the switcher, know that I have good audio processing, know that I have live streaming right there all in one device. So there is a cool use for this, even in a workflow for someone like me who has a radio production trailer like this with everything set up and ready to go. Okay, so let's see. Jeremy asking if I have any idea if tally info and timecode can go over an SDI conversion. I suspect probably not. I don't know that for sure, but I suspect that probably will not work, at least not without an update to their converters, because the ancillary data is very different between SDI and HDMI. So they can make their converters do it. I don't know if they will. So let's see. What do you recommend as an alternative for live streams when there is no Ethernet? Do you recommend cellular data? Yes. The difficulty for that, though, is most of the time when we're working indoors, cellular data is just not... You generally don't have a strong enough signal for that to be reliable, especially when you get in a situation where you've got a lot of other people around. So cellular bonding is a good alternative. What I use personally is I use my trailer, which has cellular in it, which has a dedicated antenna. It's actually got diversity, and that works really well. I've never had to use bonding with the cellular I have in my trailer. It's always just worked. So that said, there are situations where we haven't had a lot of bandwidth and we've had to limit a stream to 720 instead of being able to go to 1080. But cellular is a decent alternative. I would try and avoid Wi-Fi as much as possible. Wi-Fi is just not reliable. I think cellular is more reliable than Wi-Fi. So if you're in a situation where you don't have hardline Ethernet, I would prefer cellular over Wi-Fi. Okay, let's see. Get time during this time to give update on ATEM Mini. ATEM Mini, yeah, they just added a couple of new features with regard to controlling the Pocket Cinema cameras remotely over HDMI. So Paul Gall was saying regarding rack mixer, I can recommend checking out the Persona Studio Live Series 3 16R, supports AVB, blah, 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 blah. I haven't used that mixer. I have stopped using Persona's products. I have had too many problems with them personally. I've owned several, and without exception, they have all died a premature death. So I personally don't use Personas anymore. Okay, let's see. Ryan, what do you think about the Blackmagic Ursa broadcast cameras with the fiber connections and CCUs? Ursa Minis. The Ursa broadcast is better than Ursa Minis for live work. However, I think the low light performance on those cameras could still be better. In order to really make the image on those cameras look good in a low light situation, you're talking about using really fast lenses, which brings its own set of headaches, particularly with focusing and whatnot. So they're not my first choice, but I know a lot of people use them and like them. If you're in a situation where you're shooting outdoors or a place that has its own high quality lighting where things are quite bright, those cameras actually work really well. Having the CCU capability is really, really nice. I use Sony cameras, and I really miss the ability to be able to control those remotely with the camcorder style cameras that I use. So the Blackmagic option of using the CCUs with their cameras is pretty cool. Admittedly, very, very cool. I wish some of their cameras were a little bit better in the types of situations that I shoot in. Like we shot a concert a week ago. No way that any of the Ursa cameras would have worked in that situation. So we had to use my Sonys, have a 1-inch sensor on them with nice fast lenses in order to get enough light, in order to get a usable image. And none of the Ursa broadcasts certainly would not have worked in that situation. So for my workflow, those cameras just don't work. But I do know they work for a lot of other people. Let's see. B4 lenses with powered zooms can be converted to Micro Four Thirds for the Pocket 4K with an external battery for the servos. Yeah, there's ways of making things work. It's just not quite ideal. Doug, can you explain about things, professional distribution signals and streaming for your TV collaborator? Just a thought. I'm probably not the right one to answer that. So, yeah. Let's see. Amari saying the BMD website you can do Facebook Live with the ATEM Mini. Okay, maybe it can. I know that Facebook requires RTMP-S, and they didn't mention RTMP-S at all during the announcement today. So it's possible that it does support it, and if it does, then it will work with Facebook. So, does ATEM Mini have audio video sync issue when you have external audio input? That depends on your video sources. So the switcher itself does not add any delay to either the audio or the video, with one exception. If you're doing format conversion in the switcher, so for example, if you're shooting 1080p, your switcher is set to 1080p, but you're giving the switcher a 1080i signal from a camera, it does go through a conversion, which adds just a little bit of delay, probably not enough to notice. So basically, any signals going into the switcher stay in sync coming out of the switcher. So if there's any delay issue, it's probably coming from your sources themselves. A lot of cameras do have some delay, particularly cameras that are a little less expensive and only have HDMI. The cameras that are higher end and have SDI usually are much better about having a nice low latency. So if you're seeing a delay issue, it's probably not the switcher itself doing it. In my own testing, any delay that I saw on the ATEM Mini was minimal, not noticeable. So I tried a bunch of different sources and didn't see any noticeable delay on any of them. So if you're seeing some delay, it's probably going to be something outside the switcher itself. Okay, we from Brazil, we ask you can use the can't talk. Pro Presenter in the ATEM 4ME. I assume so. I don't use Pro Presenter, but I assume you can be able to get that signal into an ATEM switcher. Almanox, here's the $1 million question. How are things progressing on that replay setup you promised back when the work on the production trailer started? I haven't had to use it, so I haven't done much with it. So it's basically still in the same place it was. I did start the software, I just didn't get very far on it. So I won't work on that until I have a gig where I need it. I haven't done any sporting events in a while now. So, okay. Awesome Guy 101, how's Dante doing for you? Any update about that? I love Dante. Dante is awesome. I'm so glad I made the switch from analog over to Dante. Just having all the audio being routed over the same cable as everything else is amazing. And I am incredibly glad that I made the switch. I also like the equipment that I'm using that has Dante. I'm really happy with my Yamaha mixers that I've purchased in the stage boxes and whatnot. Really glad I did that. So answer, yes, I love it, and I would very happily do it again. I have not had any issues with it. It's absolutely just worked flawlessly. So if you're thinking about Dante, just do it. And that's kind of the same feedback I hear from everybody else who uses it as well. We've got a number of venues in the area that use Dante, and they all love it as well. Okay, let's see. Do you think the new updates will have the same compatibility of Pocket 4K in the non-ATEM Mini, such as the 1, 2, or 4 MEs? We don't know. We just don't know yet. They didn't say anything about it. So those camera control features only relate to HDMI. Most of their other switchers only have, aside from the Television Studio, only have one HDMI at most. Television Studio. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw an update that included that. At the same time, wouldn't necessarily count on it either. So, if that's the feature you're wanting, probably just maybe get an ATEM Mini and call it good. Okay, Klaus had quite some situations, especially streaming presentations, where I was really needing a second output to send the presentation back to the projector while also wanting to monitor program out. Yeah, having a second output on the ATEM Mini would be awesome. If you're doing program to multiple sources, you can just get a simple HDMI splitter or convert it to SDI and then just split it that way. Okay, Nick saying he uses the Ursa broadcast a lot and loves it. The CCU is a game changer. Yeah, he have a full stage lighting, so it's a different situation. Yes, yeah, absolutely. If you have enough light, those cameras can be amazing. But in so many of the situations we're working in venues where they don't have lighting or they have bad lighting. You have to have cameras that are a little more low light sensitive than the broadcasts. Okay, so Paul saying he hasn't had a problem with PreSonus model. I know there's a lot of people who use them and haven't had any issues, but I've had a 100% failure rate on a handful of products that I've owned over the years. And every time it's been after the warranty goes out, shortly after the warranty expires. So I don't think I'm going to be buying any more PreSonus products. If they supported Dante, I probably would consider in certain situations, but they're an AVB company, and I like Dante better. Let's see. Any comments on Hollyland Mars 400S? I haven't used that one. The only wireless systems I've used are from Teradek and from Cinegears. That said, most of them have the same internals, so as long as they have a decent antenna, they should work relatively well. The other issue you have with some of them is compatibility for 3 gig SDI signals. Some of them don't support. There's both with 3 gig SDI. You have both level A and level B. Some devices only support level A, and a lot of the cameras that we use in this segment of the market are level B, and so you have to be a little bit careful there. So let's see. Awesome guy asking about new gear in the trailer, except for the new inverter. Let's see. What have I updated recently? I added a printer. I bought another ATEM camera converter, so I have 3 of those now. Let's see. Have I done anything else? You guys probably also saw the video where I redid all the fiber stuff, so that's new. And other than that, I mean, I redid the 12-volt power systems in the front. After I did the inverter, I rewired all the 12-volt systems up front. I don't think I've added much else. I've replaced a couple monitors. This monitor to my right's new. There's a monitor in the back that's new. I got rid of I had some Dells in here. I've since replaced them with some LGs. The LGs I like a little better. I can't think of much else that I've actually changed. So, okay. Kevin, a bit off topic, but wondering if you have any suggestions for getting multiple individual Skype calls into ATEM. I'm forced into a world where we're doing a lot of remote guests. Cheap computers. Just get some little tiny computers, like the Intel NUCs, something similar, and just that's the most cost-effective way to do it. There is a rack mount Skype appliance that lets you do multiple calls at once. I think 2 calls. You can take that back. You can have two calls on air simultaneously, but it'll hold. I think it's 32 calls active at the same time, but it's expensive. So. If you want something that's cost-effective, just get a couple of cheap computers. Call it good. Elmanox asking if I have any experience with Dante AV. No, not yet. Are there any products that are available for that yet? It's still relatively new, so I haven't used that for anything yet. It's kind of a cool idea, though, being able to send video and audio over Ethernet. So Klaus saying that Skype on Windows supports exporting each guest as its own NDI source. I did not know that. That's pretty cool. Of course, you have to have a switcher that supports NDI for to be able to take advantage of that. Alan, someone mentioned Georgie, or yeah, Allen and Heath QU32 or Behringer X32 for audio. Yes, great, both great series of mixers. Yeah, so. Awesome guy asking what I've been doing lately. A lot of people are having events canceled. I have had more events than normal. So in the last 2 weeks, I've done 4 events, which is a little more than normal for me, because a lot of people are taking their stuff online and going virtual with it, which means more work for me. So I've been busier lately than I've been in a long time. So I know it's not the experience for everybody that's in this industry, but yeah, people who do live streaming tend to be very busy. I've talked to a number of people who work in video, and same thing. You know, just really, really busy right now. But here in Utah, we're not under the same lockdown orders that a lot of places are. So they encourage us to stay home, but they're not requiring us to stay home. So when we do get events, we're very careful. Like the concert we shot last week, all the camera operators were wearing masks. Clean the equipment very thoroughly before and after. So, and keeping our distance, obviously. So everybody in the venue is more than 6 feet apart the whole time. So we're being very careful, but at the same time, we are still getting events. So, Yeah. Okay, so go web. What power backup do you have on the trailer and load capacity? So right now I have just two Group 31 deep cycle batteries. That gives me about an hour of runtime. I've considered adding more, but an hour is usually enough. Well, should be. I haven't had to deal with this, but an hour should be more than enough to either find an alternate power source or shut down a stream. You know, if the venue is without power for an hour, we've got a bigger problem than getting an internet stream up and going. So yeah, so the battery backup in the trailer is mainly to handle those rare times when someone at a venue doesn't understand how their building is wired and they have us plug into a circuit that can't handle the load and we trip a breaker. So it's mostly just for handling those situations, just making sure that we can find an alternate power source within a reasonable amount of time. So, okay. A couple people asking answering other people's questions. Any idea on DaVinci Resolve updates? They didn't say anything today, but they do update that product pretty regularly. They're coming out with updates at least once a year on that. So version 16 hasn't been out that long, so it may be a while till we see a version 17, but so far they haven't announced anything. So that's one of those things they tend to do at NAB each year. So I wouldn't be surprised if we saw another announcement from Blackmagic fairly soon about that Resolve update. Would love to have another virtual tour of the trailer. I should probably do that. I've made enough changes since I did the last tour that it'd probably be a good idea. So I'll put that on my to-do list. Almanax asking if I stopped using the Blackmagic Micro Studio Camera 4K. I'm using it right now, actually. The camera that I'm using for this stream is the Micro Studio Camera 4K. It's been dedicated for these YouTube videos pretty much exclusively for quite a while because, again, as I've mentioned, a lot of the Blackmagic cameras just don't do well in low light, and it works here in the trailer. If I crank the gain up all the way to plus 12 decibels, open up the iris all the way on the lens, and sit underneath 200 watts of LED lighting. In that case, it works. But so many of the other situations that we have, it's just not quite enough. Okay, Mac AV, we have built an OB truck for live streaming sports. We haven't decided on instant replay system. What's your suggestion? Depends on your needs. If you're looking for something that's fairly affordable and you don't need more than 4 cameras, you can try vMix. vMix actually does instant replay. NewTek has a solution, the 3-play. I'm not a fan of it, to be honest. There are a lot of limitations on it, so I don't know that I would necessarily go that way. But it's something you can look at it, see it's something you like. There are not a lot of super affordable options out there. Data Video has one. I think that one's limited to 12 seconds of video, though, so that's very limited in its usefulness. Other than that, yeah, then that's when you start to get into the more expensive solutions. So, yeah, take a look at Data Video, see if the 12 seconds is going to work for you. vMix and 3-play from NewTek. Those are probably the 3 most affordable ones that are at least somewhat workable. So, Awesome Guy 101 asking if there's any new Dante gear I'm planning to buy in the future. Maybe. I'm still toying with the idea of replacing my intercom with a mixer that supports Dante. Right now I'm using a Behringer XR16 mixer for my intercom here in the trailer. I would like to be able to get the intercom on Dante. There is one other piece of gear that I'm currently looking at. There's a decent possibility that I might be asked to fill in to do some streaming for some events that I've assisted with another company. So the company that I work with, they do live streaming of, can't remember the name. Help me with what's Nate's stuff do? The box, the MMA. There you go. Yeah, so MMA fighting, and they may have me actually bring my trailer for those events. And the one thing that I'm really lacking is a good announcer console. and I've looked at one from Studio Technologies that's Dante based. Yeah, so if I do get an announcer console, that was one that's Dante based from Studio Technologies that I would definitely get. So at this point, I'm going to try and avoid analog audio gear as much as possible and do as much as I can with Dante. Okay, check out Graphics Outfitters Replay. So that's one I'm not familiar with. And so Graphics Outfitters, okay, I'll have to look at that one myself. How do you do webinars with PowerPoint? So I actually have a video here on the channel, how I integrate computers in with the live production environment. So go check that out. I cover that pretty thoroughly in there. So talk about the challenges of hooking a computer up to a video production system, what you need to look out for, 7 pitfalls of doing it, and how to overcome those. So I've got a video totally about that subject here on the channel. I had a question that just disappeared there. So, yeah. So I haven't had a chance to plug my Crew Acess website yet, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. So if anybody watching this video who does live video work, I've got a website that I built specifically for managing your business. So it's called crewaccess.com. I've actually got a link set up specifically for this live stream. So djp.li/bmd420. So I've created a new plan, new free plan for the website, which provides a few extras. So in addition to the normal things you get with the free plan, you also get access to a feature that I call worksheets, and then you get additional contacts and resources. So resources are inventory items. So basically what the website does is allows you to maintain relationships with your customers, with your crew, keeps track of the events that you're setting up, that you're shooting, keeps track of all your equipment, helps you to maintain your equipment by providing reminders when it needs to be serviced, and make sure that you're not double booking things. So when you can schedule let's say a camera or whatever for a particular date, and then if you try and schedule it for something else, it lets you know, hey, that's not available. It's great for companies that use contractors for their crew, because it sends out notifications whenever there's a job, and then those contractors can come on and place a bid for those jobs. And then you, as the person who's organizing it, can look at the people who have applied and you say, okay, yeah, I need to have 2 seasoned veterans. I'm willing to pay a little more, and I need to have 2 people who are maybe a little bit newer and need a little more experience. You can mark them all as hired. You can build the crew that you need at the rate that's going to be affordable for you without having to do things like send mass emails, maintain information in spreadsheets, all those kinds of things. So it's a website I built for myself to run my own company, and then I got some attention from others saying, hey, this is pretty cool. You ought to make it available. And so I did that. And so the website is out there. It's crewaccess.com. And I have plans all the way from free up through enterprise. So no matter what the size of your business, the Crew Acess website is available, and it's there to help you run your business. I have over 200 companies that are on the site now, and I'm really excited about it. I'm so excited, that's why I make the free plan available. So even if you're not in a position to sign up for a subscription, there is a free plan available that is enough to run most businesses who would be watching this channel. So go and go check it out, go try it out. Put djp.li/bmd420 into your browser, and it'll take you to that special plan that's only available to people who have watched this video. So go check it out, and then if you like what you see, please consider signing up for one of the paid plans. Helps me to justify the amount of time that I've been put into it. So let's see. Ryan asking, what CG do you recommend for live sports score and time? I wrote my own software, so I've never even looked at the other offerings that are out there. So as a software developer myself, I just wrote the software that I needed for that. So unfortunately, I can't make a good recommendation for that. I just haven't spent any time looking at those products. So when I have needed it, I just use software that I wrote. So Glen Sound and Sound Effects have good Dante commentary units. I'll take a look at those too. I really did like the Studio Technologies model that I was looking at. So, I'll take a look at those others as well. Okay, Furry ZPJ currently use an X32R with a Dante card, Studio Technologies Dante packs. Yeah, that's a great way to go for an intercom. So the Studio Technologies does make Dante-based intercom units, and that's one of the reasons that I'm considering moving to Dante for some of my intercom stuff. Be able to have that travel over the same Ethernet that I'm already using for everything else anyway. So, okay, Paul asking about if there's a link for crew access in the description. I did not put this specific link in the description, but I will after the video. So, awesome guy mentioning Casper CG. It's a free solution for doing graphics. Yes, the downside to Casper CG is it has a pretty steep learning curve. So I've used it on occasion, but it's kind of hard to set up and then figure out how it works. So if you put the time in, it can pay off, but it does take a little while to figure it out. So, Satinder, glad to see you here. Surprised it took you so long. You're usually the first one on my streams. So, yeah. So, still willing to take questions for a few more minutes. I wanted to keep this stream to under an hour. We're at 48 minutes right now. Please submit your questions, not just about the Blackmagic announcements today, but anything video production related. So. Almanacs, crew access feature suggestion. A talent pool where a need, for example, for a graphic package, an intro, or piece of music can be posted to all contractors. It's already in there. The feature already exists. So I call it special projects, and that feature does exist. It's already in there. So, yeah. So I actually went through. I found a document the other day where I had put together a wish list of everything that I might possibly ever want to put in crew access, and without fail, everything down the list I've added. I'm actually adding new features to the site quite literally every week. So I spend my weekends working on that, and yeah, I think in the last 2 weeks I've done 9 new features on the site. So the site, there's actually a page on the site that keeps track of the updates. Whenever you log in, it tells you there's been these many updates in the last 2 weeks, and I think I've added like 9 new features in the last 2 weeks. So always new stuff going on, and that's one of the great things about doing a subscription service. That I can actually justify putting some time into it because I have a revenue stream coming in from it. It's not just to write it once, sell it once, and then never have a relationship with that customer again. With the subscription model, I can actually justify putting time in and improving it, and I'm going to keep doing that. So I've got a bunch of other ideas. I had a customer suggest a feature just a couple days ago, and I'll be adding that here in the near future. So also another feature where contractors outside your pool gets to bid. That's kind of where I have to draw the line, to be honest. Right now, the site is set up where, depending on which subscription model you sign up for, you're allowed to have so many contractors sign up for the site. And that number is really what determines the different pricing level, which subscription you sign up for. So one thing I will probably do someday in the future when there are more people on the site is open it up so that people can bid across companies. So if you run your own company, you'd be able to check a box that says, make this event available to other people on other companies' web crew access sites. That way we can all kind of share the contractor pool. Right now that feature doesn't make much sense because even with 200 companies, there's not a lot of geographic overlap between the different people that are using it. So, but I do plan to add that at some point, especially when the site gets bigger and we have more common geographic area between clients that are using the site. All right, so Witty Film Girl asking if we can see the crew access site on the monitor. I can bring up kind of demo site. Although I don't have my password manager on here, I can basically just go to the home page. Yeah, there's not a lot to see here. Looks like you got some fans on there, Witty Film Girl. A couple people saying hi. All right, so yeah, so the site. I'm going to do a full run through on a stream here on my website or on YouTube here before too long. But the site's there basically to help you do event scheduling. So keeping track of where you need to be and when, what equipment you need, what crew you need. Helps with communication between members of the crew and the managers. So it has features like being able to send text messages between members of the crew on the day of an event. You can duplicate events, so if you have the same thing repeating over and over and over again, you don't have to re-enter everything. The site automatically sends notifications to your crew the day before and the day of an event. And if you have text messaging enabled, it'll even send them reminders whenever they need to leave home in order to make it on time. The site automatically does crew sheets, or call sheets, I mean. Helps you keep track of all your expenses and your budgeting. So it's got a really cool cost report on it, which basically helps you keep track of what you've paid all your crew, what it's cost you to rent equipment, venues, etc., etc. There's a time clock feature, so you can have people clock in and out if you got employees that need to keep track of their hours. You can build quotations and invoices. It actually has a really cool editor for doing that. And that not only applies for the person who's managing the site, but it also applies to crew members who are using the site. So if you got a crew member who doesn't have an accounting system, they can literally generate an invoice for you with 2 clicks. Very, very easy. And then they can download a PDF for their own records of that. It has a way of keeping track of your travel expenses, so flights and car rentals and all that kind of thing. Yeah, it's got a lot. I mean, I've literally been working on the site for 4 years now, and it's what I work on pretty much every weekend. It's very, very full featured. Resource tracking, that's your equipment, so it can print barcodes and QR codes, and you scan those on your phone to check them in and out. Stores product manuals, generates checklists for loading equipment in and out, so you always make sure that you've got everything. Track your serial numbers, all sorts of stuff. I mean, I can go on and on. I could literally demo the site for hours, but yeah, I mean, it's something I built for me, and there's a lot of other people that do the same sort of thing I do, and so I decided to make the site available. So anyway, okay, an online rental shop for crew access system would be nice. It's coming. Just haven't done it yet. I wish Blackmagic would develop a dedicated app for iPad since everything is going mobile. Yes, yeah, that would be awesome. They do have one app for controlling the video hubs, but other than that, they don't have anything. That would be great. So anybody from Blackmagic who's watching, there's a bunch of people who would want that, and I've heard that request a number of times, and I'd love to see it too. Nick Whitworth, I love crew access. I'd like to be able to make events available to employees for a few days before opening up to contractors. I've thought about that, and I'm trying to figure out an easy way to make that happen. I will come up with something. So Mac AV, we're using the Behringer X32, and wondering if I could feed the AES EBU output to our BM Studio converter using its AES EBU input. Yeah, you should be able to do that because it is a standard AES EBU signal coming in and out of the Studio and TalkBack converters. So as long as you got a mixer that has that, you should be able to interface it. Woody Film Girl's text messages favorite feature. Yes, the text messages are really cool. I've gotten a lot of compliments about that. Like, just make sure that everybody's there on time. They're getting adequate notification to be able to get to the venue on time. Tom saying he just ordered an ATEM Mini Pro. Awesome. I will be doing that as well. Aminox asking if Crew Access has gone international. Yeah, it's actually been international for 2 years now. So it's had the ability to handle other currencies, date formats, 24-hour versus 12-hour. If there's something that's lacking, let me know. The one thing I'm not going to do, though, is language translations, anything other than English. That's just an enormous, monstrous project with little payoff, so that won't be happening. But it does handle different international currencies already. So, Devin, did they say the ATEM Mini Pro will have internal flash memory that will store the images when powered down? They didn't say. That could go either way, because I'm pretty sure the ATEM Mini, the existing ATEM Mini, doesn't do it, but the Television Studio HD does. So some of the products do, some don't. I don't really know. Okay, Luke, maybe I missed it, but does the ATEM Mini Pro have the exact same footprint and measurements? It certainly looks like it. I think they are using the same case with additional cutouts for the new buttons. It looks absolutely identical dimension-wise. So. So Aaron confirming that. Yep. I'll also say it records external hard drive via USB. Yes, I did mention that earlier. Another question: do you recommend the ATEM Mini for church streaming? If your needs are modest enough that you can get away with it, sure, why not? The one big downside to the ATEM Minis is the fact that they only have HDMI. It'd be awesome to have SDI, but I understand where they're coming from. And they're trying to produce a product that's going to work with inexpensive cameras, and you just don't find SDI on the cheap cameras that are out there. So I understand where they're coming from. Makes sense in the market that they're trying to reach. Of course, with HDMI, you have distance limitations. I wouldn't try running HDMI more than about 25 feet. So if you're able to keep your cameras within 25 feet, or you're willing to convert the HDMI to something else to get longer runs, sure, why not? The ATEM Mini should work great for that. Let's see. I guess that's Georgie. Do I need to have certification to do this professionally, or an engineering degree is enough? I don't have any degree. So it's experience is the main thing. So just understanding the equipment, being able to troubleshoot problems, dealing with people, those are the big things I have to do with doing video production. I mean, in terms of the technology, as long as you understand some of the fundamentals that outputs go to inputs, you can figure things out. So no degree required. There's not a lot of training certifications that are out there for this kind of thing. It's kind of an industry that's sort of avoided that. There are schools that teach this sort of thing, but they're not that popular. And most people who work in the industry have just kind of come up working in the industry. So, yeah, no certifications required. It's something, if you want to do it, you can do it. So, okay. Do I have any idea of the internal delay on the ATEM Mini Pro? I don't think there is any, just like the ATEM Mini. I know there's a lot of misinformation out there about the ATEM Mini and signal delay. The device adds either essentially no delay or maybe a tiny bit of delay if it has to do signal format conversion. So I did my own testing. Input to output lag was less than a frame. So if you're seeing some delay, it's probably coming from somewhere else. And unfortunately, a lot of the cameras that people are using with this do add some delay internally. So if you're seeing delay, it's probably not the ATEM switcher that's doing it. Let's see. Devin saying they advertised that it would have, and talking about the media pool. I don't remember that actually, but I'll take your word for it. Okay, Luke, do you think the HDMI data signal will work with the Blackmagic Mini SDI converters? I'm thinking not without an update, because the SDI and HDMI ancillary data streams are totally different, and I seriously doubt that there's a way to convert between those. But at the same time, I wouldn't be surprised if at some point there was an update for the Blackmagic converters to support that. So, not going to count on it, but it wouldn't surprise me. Almanac saying yes, that there usually is a giant delay in the cheaper cameras and HDMI ports. Yes, that's most of the delay that people are saying is with the cameras, not with the ATEM Mini switchers. So I'm going to give you guys just another couple minutes to get any last minute questions in, but we are at an hour and I wanted to keep the stream to an hour. So if you got any questions, please get those in right now, and otherwise I'm going to start wrapping up here pretty quick. So how many people actually out there actually watch the stream? All right, anybody watch the stream, or are you just relying on my live stream to talk about it? I heard from someone who works at Blackmagic Design that a number of people that work there actually watch my streams to summarize their product announcements instead of Grant Petty's, because I'm a little bit more concise and I get through the information a little bit faster. So, all right. Okay, I'm using ATEM Mini with 3 cameras, 2 of them SDI converted, all at 50 meters long. So yeah, that's a great way to do it. It keeps the cost down. Yeah, I mean, like I say, it would have been nice to have SDI, but I understand where they're coming from. Tom asking if I'm overall disappointed or satisfied. kind of meh about this one. I was hoping for some new exciting products. ATEM Mini is kind of exciting, but at the same time, I'd love to see new monitors from Blackmagic. I would like to see some updates for some of their existing switchers. Like the switcher that I use now is like 5 years old. It's kind of surprising they haven't updated that. Yeah, it would have been nice to see some more cool new products than what they announced. But it is what it is. So I mean, we'll take anything we can get, right? Okay. Please have this kind of session once a month if possible. I try to do these live streams about once a quarter. I tried doing once a month for a while, and there wasn't enough interest, enough viewership. Maybe now that I have more subscribers, that's less of an issue, and I could do them more often. I can give it a try and see what happens. NCFX, sorry if this has been asked, ATEM Mini Pro has one HDMI output. Not possible to have the multi-view and feed another external monitor. That is correct. So with one HDMI output, you can either do multi-view or program or one of your camera sources on the HDMI output, and that's it. However, with the ATEM Mini Pro, since it has built-in live streaming and it has the option to record to external hard drives, you may not need to use that output for program. Yeah, you might be able to just use the multi-view and call it good. So there's a lot of situations where I can see that actually being sufficient. So please do remember to give us another tour of trailer. I will. I'll do another one. I don't think BMD could bring an update to the microconverters because that would bring some kind of bidirectional data stream on an SDI cable. I think what we're just talking about still single direction communication. Like the existing camera control stuff all works in one direction. So I think they could pull it off and still have. You wouldn't be able to get some of the feedback that you can get with HDMI, but you can still do like the color correction, start-stop recording, those kinds of things. Those could all work because they already do work over SDI. Love your streams and videos. I use it for learning how to better my calling with my church. Yeah, so I'm glad to help. That's why I'm doing this. I don't particularly love being on camera, and I don't necessarily love the pressure of trying to come up with new content, but I'm really trying to be out there and help people to learn this, because there can be some difficult concepts to learn, and if I can share some of my knowledge, I'm happy to do that. So I'd love to see a high frame rate big sensor version of Ursa broadcast. Yeah, there's a lot of things that we'd like to see along those lines. Very interesting and very educational. Keep it up. Always loving your lives and videos. Thank you. The feedback I get is kind of what keeps me going. So, hi, how are you airing the chat? Anything special or crop desktop video capture? It's just a crop of this computer screen. That's all. Nothing very fancy. Any thoughts on AJA UTAB for streaming? I haven't used it. I don't know. I can't say. So AJA makes pretty good products. I don't happen to own any at the moment, but generally their products are pretty good. So if a product that seems like it would meet your needs, I wouldn't hesitate to buy it. Thanks for excellent YouTube channel. Stay safe. I am doing my best to stay safe. I normally just work from home anyway, so my life hasn't really changed a whole lot with everything that's going on. So yeah, I mean, it can very often be that I go days without seeing another person. So that's kind of normal way that I work. I work as my day job as a software developer from home, and then this video stuff just whenever the jobs happen to come up. So fortunately, the jobs that we've been able to have been able to maintain safe distance from people and keep the equipment clean and whatnot. So hope everybody out there is actually doing well as well. I know this is a really tough time for a lot of people. A lot of people, especially in entertainment and related businesses, are really suffering right now. And I really wish you the best. I know this is hard. And we're going to get through this, though. So be patient. We'll get through this. It's where things will get back to normal for us. So just stay strong. Keep going. We'll be all right. So, all right. So what am I using for streaming now? So I'm using this right now. I'm using a HyperDeck Video Pro. It still works. HyperDeck products have kind of gone downhill, but this doesn't. I'm not relying on their cloud service, and so the device still works just fine for going to YouTube and whatnot. So if you're using HyperDeck for their live services, it's been a little iffy. I'd have a hard time recommending HyperDeck products for that. But for doing direct RTMP, these TerraDuck products that I have actually still work just fine. Is ATEM Mini Pro more powerful than the TV Studio and Television Studio HD now? No, it's not. It's receiving more of the features of the Television Studio. There are some aspects that are a little better. It has a better audio mixing engine. Yeah, it supports a lot of the Fairlight stuff, and it has the built-in converters, frame rate and resolution converters. Basically, the Teranex Mini technologies has those built in. But other than that, they're very much lower end products. So. All right, so I think I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up. So anyway, thanks guys for watching. If you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing. I try and do new content here on the channel about once a week when I'm not otherwise occupied doing other stuff. But please do consider Please do consider subscribing. Any support you provide to the channel is very helpful. So, and again, if you haven't checked out my Crew Access website, please consider doing so. The link for the promotional plan that I've created just for this stream is djp.li/bmd20. And there's the Crew Access website there up on screen. So it's really there to help everybody out who's in the video production market. And even if you can't afford a subscription, there is a free plan there, and you can use that free plan as long as you like. And I'm never going to take that away. So anyway, thanks everyone for watching, and have a fantastic day.